Coming up, it may be the most famous opening monologue from a classic song ever put to record. A brave sermon every 80s kid knows by heart, no doubt about it. Are you kidding me? It's from a #1 hit that is a high-energy, savage synth-rock masterpiece that will have you on your feet at the moment it hits. The only thing is, it may not be the straight-up party song that you think it is. In fact, if you missed the cues in the intro, you may have missed its coded message entirely. Sung by one of music's most enigmatic and controversial superstars, this artist could really do it all. He's a genius's genius. He was already a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer. This time, he went beyond even that. And strangely enough, this 80s smash would prove to be prophetic as the artist was found dead in the very place he described in the song. This is crazy. Once you hear this story, it'll bring a whole new meaning to this song. It's coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies. Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you ever stole your older brother or sister's records or tapes or CDs growing up, you're going to dig this channel of pure musical nostalgia. Shouldn't say steal, borrowed. Make sure that you subscribe below right now and click the notification bell so you know when everything drops. We have new stuff coming out all the time. Also, check us out on Patreon. Even more content helps us keep it a daily channel. Check out our merch below as well, 3 Chords and the Truth. So Prince Rogers Nelson, absolute marvel. A certified musical genius, a truly rare and gifted artist. This talented singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer, he was a one-man phenomenon. And today, we're going to pay tribute to him and his legacy by telling the story of a song that people get wrong a lot. It's one of his most beloved and popular hits, Let's Go Crazy, from his 1984 soundtrack album, Purple Rain. As Prince entered the 80s, his momentum was accelerating. He was a critic's darling from the beginning. He issued a trio of albums from 1980 to 1982, each in turn one-upping the last. Dirty Mind became Prince's first gold offering, Controversy his first platinum, and his double album 1999, that was his first to go multi-platinum. And although his first 2 80s records wouldn't yield any hits on the Billboard Hot 100, 1999 kicked open the floodgates, spawning 3 top 10 singles, Little Red Corvette, Delirious, of course the title track, Mama, just can't wait to rest 'cause I get delirious. Party like it's 1999. 1999 pushed Prince's sound into the realm of synth-heavy dance, and the world went crazy for it. The album's commercial breakthrough success was pure vindication. Years of artistic struggle finally paid off for this man. Released worldwide in October 1982, Prince's 5th studio album reached #9 on the Billboard 200 and certified platinum 4 times in the United States. But that would only be the beginning of what Prince had in store for the world. The success of 1999, it made Prince the artist to watch, and as he prepared to drop his next album, Purple Rain. Released on June 25th, 1984, the record showcased the Purple One's extraordinary talent and vision. A multimedia event if there ever was one in the 80s, Purple Rain served as the soundtrack to one of the most memorable films of '84. Purple Rain, the movie, was released a month after the album on July 27th, and not only cast Prince in the leading role, but was written as a stylized autobiography. Prince spent months jotting down the basic plot points, which he then handed off to screenwriter William Blinn. The movie borrows heavily from Prince's experiences growing up in Minnesota. Most of the roles were played by musicians in his inner circle, using their real names and acting out fictionalized versions of real-life situations. The film opened in 900 theaters across the United States and earned back its investment of $7 million on its first weekend. Ultimately, Purple Rain would gross over $70 million at the box office, which is equal to about $200 million, well, more than $200 million today. While the film itself has become a lasting landmark in modern pop culture, it is Prince's music, and specifically his concert performances, that have kept it there. I mean, take Prince off the stage and some of the rest of the movie becomes a little suspect. That being said, though, the twin media strategy of Purple Rain, the film and the album, a brilliant move on Prince's part. Together, they showcase the next level in the evolution of Prince's musical excellence, christening him as a global superstar, which he became.
Purple Rain.
As for the album itself, it was mostly recorded between August of 1983 and March of 1984. Some of the songs were actually live takes from an August 83 concert at the famed First Avenue nightclub in Minneapolis. The album's last 3 tracks, I Would Die For You, Baby I'm a Star, and Purple Rain, were recorded live on August 3rd, 1983 with overdubs and edits taking place over the next few months. This marked the first time that Prince had included live recordings on an album. It also marked the first time Prince released a non-solo album. Whereas Prince's previous records are all credited to the Purple Enigma himself, Purple Rain is credited to Prince and the Revolution. Purple Rain featured the most pop-oriented music that Prince had ever made and would ever make. So it's not surprising the record certified platinum in the US a mere 2 months after its release. I mean, by November 1984, it reached platinum 8 times. By January of 85, it was platinum times 9. Eventually, it sold in excess of 25 million copies worldwide. Once again, Prince had really upped his game. At the time of its release, the LP spent 24 consecutive weeks at number 1 on the Billboard 200 album chart. Purple Rain likewise stormed the charts around the world. It reached number 12 in Japan. It went to number 8 in France and Austria, 7 in UK and Switzerland, number 5 in Germany, number 4 in Norway, number 3 in Sweden, number 2 in New Zealand, and it went to number 1 in Australia, Holland, Zimbabwe, and Canada. The record also scored an Oscar, 2 Grammys, and 4 Hot 100 Top 10 singles, including 2 number 1 hits and a number 2. While this may have seemed like overnight success to much of the world who weren't aware of Prince, truth was that he had been plotting his global takeover for years. In 1985, he said, "I worked a long time under a lot of different people, and most of the time I was doing it their way. I mean, that was cool, but I figured if I worked hard enough and kept my head straight, one day I'd get to do this on my own," and that's what happened. The final version of the record, it was locked in, totaling 9 tracks and coming in just under 44 minutes. It works brilliantly as both a companion piece to the film and a standalone offering. That's why it's hard to call it a soundtrack album. Purple Rain, of course, turned out multiple cross-format hit singles. There was When Doves Cry, I Would Die For You, Purple Rain, Take Me With You, and today's feature, Let's Go Crazy.
What it sounds like when the doves cry.
How do you say it? Let's Go Crazy. It's a fire-breathing melodic rocker that forces you to your feet the moment it kicks into action.
We are gathered here today to get through this thing called life.
This track was a declaration of intent for the new band and this new era, showcasing the precision and the power of Prince and the Revolution, while adding a strong pop appeal, I might add. Said bassist Brown Mark, when he presented that groove to us, it definitely was the start of a change in another direction. According to the song's handwritten lyric sheet, its original title, though, was Let's Get Crazy. It's funny how one small word can make such a huge difference. I mean, can you imagine Let's Go Crazy any other way? I don't think so. Let's Get Crazy? It's like what Michael Keaton said in the original Batman.
And then he had us. Now you want to get nuts!
So the basic idea for the song and the riff was put to tape in a session on May 18, 1983 at the Kiowa Trail Home Studio in Minnesota. But before laying down a proper studio recording, Prince and the Revolution debuted and recorded the song live on August 3, 1983 at First Avenue. Then a basic tracking of the version released on Purple Rain took place on August 7th, 1983 at the Warehouse in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. This version was then edited down for the actual album. Engineer Susan Rogers remembered it this way: Prince wanted to be able to record his rehearsals, so I was told to make a control room right in the middle of a warehouse, which breaks every rule in the book. But I hadn't been an engineer. I knew nothing about record making, which in hindsight was why I was perfect for Prince, because he could have me make his records his way. For the Warehouse studio, I guess they brought in a console, they threw down a square of carpet on the cement floor. That was it. It was left completely open. They recorded Let's Go Crazy live at rehearsal, and then Prince sent the band home, and it was just Prince and Rogers who worked the overdubs together. Susan called Prince a great band leader who spent a lot of time with his bandmates and riffed off all their ideas. Keyboardist Matt, the Dr. Fink, concurred, saying that when Prince brought the song to the band in rehearsal, he'd already recorded the demo pretty much on his own. But he also wanted the band to put their flavor on it and perform it live to record it. The Revolution's other keyboardist, Lisa Coleman, remembered that. She said the more we played it, the more it developed into a sparkly, tough song, sort of Disneyland. It was talking about life before death. The band added just the right attitude. Fittingly, as the first track on Purple Rain, Let's Go Crazy opens with an iconic spoken intro, likely the most famous of the 80s. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life.
We are gathered here today to get through this thing called life.
I mean, is it a eulogy? Is it a sermon? Is it a manifesto? Maybe all three. Whatever it is, it's one of the most famous song introductions in pop music history, one that we all knew by heart. I don't know if there's a more perfect way to kick off anything ever. An album, a concert, a movie. And you know what? This intro, it did all three. Joined by a church organ, Prince preaches from the pulpit to us, his congregation, admonishing us to enjoy this life that we live. Because in this life, things are much harder than the afterworld, the world to come. In this life, we're on our own. And so if the de-elevator tries to bring us down, there's time to go crazy, to punch a higher floor. So good. I think all that's missing here is a backup choir, and can I get an amen? It just sparkles. Now, if you're picking up on some religious undertones here, that was actually really intentional. Prince explained that the original draft of Let's Go Crazy was very different from what landed on the album. It was an overtly religious track. He said, and I quote, "As I wrote it, Let's Go Crazy was about God and the de-elevation of sin." He further clarified, saying the song was about God and the devil. He said, I had to change those words up, but de-elevator was Satan. I had to change those words up because you couldn't say God on the radio. Can you imagine that? Same thing with God Only Knows. Let's Go Crazy was God to me. Stay happy, stay focused, and you can beat the de-elevator. I love that. Since religion was taboo in popular music, Prince turned the song into a coded message. But it's not like it's not incompatible with Prince's character or his catalog. In fact, he also invoked religious imagery in popular songs like 1999, I Would Die For You, and Purple Rain, just to name a couple. So even though Let's Go Crazy is typically heard as a pure party track, Prince infused it with a deeper spiritual meaning for those who wanted to hear it or could hear it between the lines.
Come on, baby.
I also got to take a moment here to give Prince's guitar solos a true shout out, because he does not get the credit he deserves as a guitarist. I still think he's underrated. It's starting to come around a little bit with the video of him playing As My Guitar Gently Weeps, and everybody there, including Tom Petty and company, are just, picking their mouth up off the floor, their jaw up off the floor. But Let's Go Crazy features two incredible solos, reminiscent of the great Jimi Hendrix. Prince's solo at the end of the song is a near minute-long masterclass in high-speed shredding and ought to mean more than enough to secure his rightful status as a legitimate, not only music genius, but guitar genius. It's one of the top solo moments in a decade that was full of them. Said drummer Bobby Z, he was down on those pedals. He was studying those dials. He knew exactly what he was doing. When that guitar solo at the end of Let's Go Crazy hit, that could have been the first take. He definitely was a guitar student. Purple Rain, for its part, was his sixth studio album. His sixth. People really forget about that. He had all that time to master guitar. By the time he got to Let's Go Crazy, you knew he figured it out. The guitar parts were now epic. And to quote, amen to that, Bobby C. Let's Go Crazy followed When Doves Cry as the second #1 single off of the soundtrack. It also reached #1 on the Dance Club Songs chart and also the Hot Black Singles chart. And it broke into the US Top 20 mainstream rock chart. Should have been a #1 there. Internationally, Let's Go Crazy went to #13 in New Zealand, went to #11 in the Netherlands and Belgium. #10 in Australia, #7 in the UK, and #2 in Canada. The music video for Let's Go Crazy, it mixes Prince's performance of the song in the movie with a variety of other clips from the film. Albert Magnoli, who directed Purple Rain, he's credited as the director for the music video as well. As you can imagine, it was a popular clip. Fast forward to the new millennium and the era of music videos on YouTube, rest in peace MTV. Let's Go Crazy, it's still making its mark. I mean, music video and all. Between YouTube and Spotify, the song has been streamed over 150 million times. But surprisingly, the track has only showed up in a handful of movies and TV shows. Probably because it's so connected to Purple Rain, the movie, but it's been in Muppets Tonight with Prince himself.
Let's go crazy. Let's get nuts.
Sing 2, American Dad.
If you don't like
Kingsman, Golden Circle, and Empire. Such a cinematic song. Fortunately, the Minnesota sports market knows what they're doing here. Reportedly, the Minnesota Twins began playing the song in 2010 whenever a Twins player hit a home run. And the Minnesota hockey team, the Wild, likewise adopted Let's Go Crazy. They actually used it in their 2017 to 18 season, playing it whenever one of their players put a puck in the net. Let's Go Crazy has been sung by a wide variety of artists from all different genres. There's Sheila E., Incubus, Maroon 5, Train, 311, Christina Aguilera, Sugarland, Sister Hazel, Bruno Mars, Green Day, Corey Taylor, The Darkness, Kelly Clarkson, and also Sir Paul McCartney. Nice tip of the hat there. If you want to hear a great version of Let's Go Crazy, though, check out Prince and the Revolution Live. It was actually first released on VHS back in '85, and then later it was released on DVD. And check out the deluxe edition of Purple Rain as well, which contains multiple versions of Let's Go Crazy, including the 7.5-minute dance mix that was actually used in the movie at first. This is actually one of Prince's favorite songs. He showcased Let's Go Crazy during his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony clear back in 2004. So by the time Prince released his follow-up record to Purple Rain, 1985's Around the World in a Day, very psychedelic album, the man was a certifiable superstar, enigmatic, innovative, and prolific. Prince would go on to put together a career that tallied the release of 40-plus albums, and also retaining vaults of unreleased material on top of all that. Not to mention there are all the artists he mentored and collaborated with through the years. Just an incredible, incredible career. It's been almost the better part of a decade now since Prince passed away. Allegedly, according to medical examiners, he died from an accidental overdose of the painkiller fentanyl. This is back on April 21st, 2016. Prince was discovered unresponsive in an elevator at his Paisley Park studios. First responders attempted to revive him with CPR, but to no avail. He was pronounced dead shortly after that. Not long after Prince's passing, members of the Revolution announced they would reunite to pay tribute to their fallen frontman. According to Brown Mark, it wasn't hard for them to decide which song would open the shows. Said Brown Mark about it, if you remember in the song, it asks, are we going to let the elevator bring us down? And the ironic thing is that he died in an elevator. So it was our choice. We needed to come out with Let's Go Crazy because Prince lived and breathed what he was. This guy was very energetic. He loved life and he loved music so much. That was his happy song. If you listen to the lyrics, he's talking about the very thing that happened to him, right? Nothing's going to bring us down. But it caught him off guard and bam, it's over. So we thought it was a very appropriate song for us to come out with. It represents that energetic side of who he was in that time period. This song, oh man, it's gotten me through so many down moments. I remember in high school, right before graduation day, it was like a couple days before, I was completely fatigued. I could barely get out of bed. I would later find out from a doctor it was mono. This was going to ruin my summer after getting away from school, which I hated. Well, one morning, I got just enough strength to put a CD into my stereo. And it was Let's Go Crazy. I was immediately on my feet jamming. It gave me sheer motivation. And, you know, with a little faith, a little Prince, and a little prayer, I somehow dodged this sickness. Seriously, I went back to the doctor a couple days later. They could not find any trace of the illness. It's a true story. I graduated and I had a great summer. We all have to ask that question. Are we going to let the elevator take us down? Well, in the immortal words of the Purple One, oh no, let's go crazy. Long live the Prince of rock and roll. Thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Prince, Purple Rain, and Let's Go Crazy. What do you remember about the song, the album? What are your memories tied to it? What do you think about the song, his guitar solos, Prince as an artist? Let's have a great discussion and tribute about truly a genius of musical geniuses. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our content, part of our community. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth.